Right, welcome back to News Sources. I am Julie Masiga. And now courts will no longer give orders to halt multi-billion shilling government infrastructural projects over land compensation disputes. This is according to a proposed law. Under the legislation, projects that are the subject of land compensation disputes cannot be stopped through court injunctions, which have become the norm in recent years. So I think this is all about Vision 2030. Because we're rapidly moving towards that kind of historical landmark where all these flagship projects have to be up and running. So they're kind of restricting people's, I think, constitutional rights to go to the court and seek redress. Faith, what's your take on this?
Actually, it's very unfortunate because the only surest way of getting justice is through the judiciary. I know the law proposes a tribunal that if you have any issue, then you can go to the tribunal, to raise your issues. But I think for a common man or a common woman in the village, it's very difficult for them to get justice. And if somebody is taking your land compulsory, without due process, then that is, I think it's against the Constitution. It actually closes back on the gains that we've made on the Constitution. Remember, we have an environmental and land court, so it sort of clips the wings of this.
Completely.
Exactly, yes. Because why do we even have this court? So somebody is trying, I know the government is really trying to be the deadline and implement, like you said, the Vision 2030 projects, but it doesn't mean that you introduce, and this is a government-sponsored law, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, government-sponsored bill.
It's government-sponsored, so I think there's something fishy around it. I totally do not support it.
I think they just want to get their work done on time. That's one way of looking at it, instead of at every step getting challenged by a court process. Betty, do you think that could be the case?
We do have, the other thing, the problem is very compounded. You have a history of land issues in this country. You have a history of disputes that already existed, especially where some of these projects are passing. And then on top of that, you have now this project that's supposed to, take the land issue to a whole new level. If these people do not have a place to have this redressed, but then again, what I'm thinking? Like some of these land issues have gone on for 20 years, 30 years. Do we really have the time to wait, for that long? So from that perspective, I can see the government saying, no, we have to do this at this point, because our plan is to be at this level by 2030.
At this point in time,
yeah. But again, it as Faith has said, it does take away the rights of the people.
Of the common man.
Yeah.
And I think LAPSET has run into problems with this, and also the SGR. And most recently, we've heard about the Murang'a Water Project, which was spoken about by the former Prime Minister. And I think my director actually has a clip to run about that in a second or two. Yes, we can wait for that clip now.
Mlandi kwanza ikiendelea, kwanza wangetupea maji. First priority ingekuja kwetu, badala hii maji inatolewa huku inapelekwa Nairobi, na sisi wakaaji hapa tunakaa bila maji.
Sasa hii mradi ikiendelea, hapa tutakuwa na shida ya maji juu. Hata kwenye tulikuwa tunalima na huko Gurumo kutakauka.
Right. So, in fact, yesterday, the former Prime Minister, in Mwangiwa area, dead Prime Minister asked him to declare on whose behalf he was speaking. There we see the people of Murang'a actually speaking about the exact same thing, the water crisis. Lydia, what do you think about this in the context of larger state projects?
You see the projects, the law that has been proposed by the government. That piece of legislature is very, very dangerous, because it will indeed be a close. It will close out the not common wananchi from speaking. But even then, there are projects that the government needs to complete. The projects need to be viable economically, and compulsory acquisition is something that is there, and that's what they're trying to implement, so that projects do not stay forever, for 20, 30 years without being completed. An example is the SGR of Kenya is said to be 1.5 times more expensive than the one of Ethiopia. And the reason being, we've been stopped. It's been stopped at every step of the way. What former Prime Minister Raila Odinga was talking about, the tunnels, and he was saying that the areas might be a desert within 5 years. I think was taken out of context and made political.
Taken out of context?
Made political. It's been made political, whereas they should actually find out whether indeed what he's talking about. We know Raila. How many years has he made statements? And when you go back and check, there's some facts. Why haven't they, instead of just coming and saying, who are you talking for? Adendwale said that maybe you have 10%.
Well, they
from
did
the
release
contractor.
a speech that they said he made, actually launching this project back in 2012.
Yes. And he needs also to come clean. I think it's all sides.
So the whole thing has become a political
and
context.
It is a disaster for the Murang'a people. We know as Kenyans, we do not own what is water, for example. We don't own what is underground, 6 feet. We don't own the minerals, even if your house is sitting on it. You don't own the minerals. You don't own the water.
It belongs to the state.
It belongs to the state.
Yeah.
So even as Murang'a residents are saying that they've been disenfranchised and the water has been taken away, they should have been looked after. And so many things.
The government also did say that there was public participation.
But they're complaining that there wasn't. The Murang'a residents are complaining that there wasn't any.
Even the technical committee that looked into that issue of the Murang'a project has a report that says that the community was not involved. There was no public participation. And I want to say one more thing, Julie, linking this with the law that has been proposed, that somebody should have actually moved to court today, even yesterday, to demand that we need information on this Murang'a saga. But what will this law do? If you can't go to court,
it will actually curtail your right to do that. But
I know we don't have time, but these tunnels were supposed to be the overflow of water.
Yes.
Not water from the river sources. It was supposed to be what overflows.
Okay.
So,
Point taken. Yeah. But moving on. 203 million Kenya shillings are the monies budgeted for by Nairobi, Machakos, and Makueni counties for office refreshments. This amount can buy up to 69 dialysis machines. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Nyeri County, the county government intends to spend 77.8 million shillings on hospitality in the current financial year. This allocation can pay for 10 new specialists to provide quality health care. This just gets me completely, just makes me really annoyed that you can be spending money on hospitality, whereas we don't even have one PET scan in this country. Not even one.
I just have to say this. I have supported the doctors and the KMPDU for every strike that they have had ever since 2013. I have been saying this online. I have been saying this in my blog, that this country, with the moment we did healthcare devolution, we opened a can of worms that was so large. In 2013, we had counties like Kisii County allocating 24 shillings per person given the population. And you can see the same sort of disregard for human life, disregard for the responsibilities that they have towards their constituents, in the way that they are more interested in partying and hosting tea parties and hosting, I don't know who they're spending all this money on, and not providing services as per their constitutional requirements.
Basic healthcare.
Basic healthcare. And the fact, it goes back to the fact that as the KMPDU had said and has been saying all this time, healthcare devolution should not have happened. It should go back to the national government so that it can be streamlined, so that this can totally come to an end. And the money that these counties are getting for the sake of the healthcare should no longer receive it. That way they can decide how they are doing their tea party.
But when you're getting 10 billion shillings a year as a county, as a governor who's never been in that particular position before,
no experience.
Yes, it's things like this are bound to happen. Still.
You need experience.
But policies are set. Yes. And there are policies that are there, meant to eradicate poverty, meant to eradicate disease, meant to, bring, the objectives are there. These objectives are what they should follow depending on county. They vary county to county. So even looking at what the county is wasting and could have bought dialysis machines, maybe is not completely fair.
It's a simple comparison. Fair. It's not fair. It's very basic, but it kind of gives you an idea of what that money could be.
Because not every county, you see, a dialysis machine is a machine that looks after one when you have already gotten sick.
Yes.
And what we would probably want to look at is preventive,
Yes.
other than curative.
Yes. Or at least both.
And maybe if Machakos are enjoying tea, we have the situation where many years ago the government officers had to get out of office, leave their jackets on their chairs, and go and waste time. So services were not delivered. So probably that's what they looked at. Everybody has an argument. When you look at it, there's always two sides to a coin.
To a story.
There's always two sides to a coin.
But they need to do more.
They need to do more. And like I said earlier, devolution is new. Devolution is new. It's a baby. And the teething problems are many.
Let's just imagine
the joy that they suddenly got from billions of shillings in their care.
Yes,
they don't know what to do with it.
Even
They're
an ordinary person.
They were given a structured formula to follow in the devolution of healthcare.
Which is what I said, policies and objectives
they're
are there.
just ignoring it.
Yeah.
I
think this seems like a simple thing to me. If you have 10 billion shillings and you have a choice to buy mandazi or to help somebody get cancer care, which one do you choose?
Let me just say this.
You're
Julie.
talking like a human being.
I think the drafters of the constitution, by devolving the health unit, the health system to the counties, were very clear. They wanted to improve efficiency in the counties, at that level of the common mwananchi. But that is not happening. You look at Kenyatta National Hospital. We have people queuing every single day for cancer treatment. Level 5 and level 4 hospitals in counties have not been equipped as it should be. So, devolution could be a baby, but I think more should be done. Really, you shouldn't be allocating billions of shillings.
Yeah. I agree with you 100% Faith, but we have to move on now. Yeah. The Judicial Service Commission has nominated Justice Philomena Mbete Mwilu for the position of Deputy Chief Justice. Justice Mwilu is a Court of Appeal judge who has served in the judiciary for 32 years. Despite her obvious qualifications and years of experience, sections of the press have been more interested in her stand on marriage. Let's listen in.
If these women are happy, they got into their relationship consciously. It's their custom or it is their belief. And they willingly wanted to share this one man and all that he has and what the three of them, put into the relationship. It's the law.
Yeah, so she supports polygamy, and polygamy is legal, so I really don't see why we're stuck on that point.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I think everybody is entitled to their opinion. She's airing an opinion that is hers.
Yes.
And she's entitled to her opinion. In the same breath, the former Chief Justice used to wear an earring.
Yes.
That was his
Which
style.
we also made a big deal about.
Yes, and it was the press made a big deal about it.
Yes.
But so he made rulings, he continued, he ran the Supreme Court.
Sorry, Lydia, I'm hearing in my ear that we need to have brief comments, so I'm going to have to hurry you up.
Yes. She has a right to say what she wants to say.
Yes, she should, Betty.
Okay. The law already exists. We had the Consolidation of the Marriage Act and making polygamous marriages legally recognized. In that regard, I agree with her. If people are happy, if this is their choice, you know what? Marry as many wives as you can afford. Note, I said afford. Yeah. So beyond that, I think that they have taken a lot of things out of context. This country still has very traditional societies. We can't start saying everyone should be monogamous. No, it just doesn't work that way. We have different traditions, and we should respect those traditions.
I agree with you. I agree with you totally. It's a matter of it's how liberal you are, really, to either support or not support polygamy. But also it's something that is in the law. So I like the fact that she said it's in the law, and any judgment that you make, it should actually be based on the law. So, I don't see why the media is...
But you see, we're also focusing on the whole polygamy thing when we should be focusing on her experience.
Exactly.
What
is she bringing to the table? The issue of corruption, cartels. She has a very good track record on teamwork, on synergy. Those are some of the issues that we want to see in the judiciary. Polygamy, I think, is a sideshow. It's either you buy it or not.
What has happened is that we've trivialized such things into bedroom politics.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
So my track record on keeping time is not so good, so I have to cut you short right there. But Governor Evans Kidero has moved to court to stop the Nairobi County Assembly from debating a motion to impeach him. Through lawyer Tom Ojienda, Kidero argued that the summons issued for him to appear before the Assembly were unlawful and below the threshold set by the standing orders. So Kidero fighting tooth and nail. Can't go, won't go. I'm not going to leave. He's gone to court as is his constitutional right, and more or less blocked this thing because I think they had 3 days to discuss it, and the court order covers that period. Right or wrong?
It's very right. In the Constitution, in Article 181, the issue about how to remove a governor is there, and then it goes further even about the procedures to be used, the reasons to remove him and the procedures to use. And I think the Nairobi County didn't really follow all of them because 2/3, they never got the 2/3. And for him to go to court, constitutional right.
Within his rights, Betty?
Yes.
But you know, it's kind of controversial because what's his name? Nyangwara.
Samuel Nyangwara.
Nyangwara last week failed to convince me that he had a good enough reason to be asking for a petition to remove him, and that's just my opinion. Over and above that, he was not able to bring the quorum. He's claiming that they were bribed. I'm thinking, no, well, you didn't even convince me that this is a good enough reason. So maybe they weren't bribed. Maybe they just don't agree with you, and that's still part of the law. Democracy.
Yeah, I totally have a different view on this. Politically speaking, I think this is a loss for Kidero. I mean, he has every right to move to the court, but these are very serious allegations. The fact that the debt is ballooning at about 42 billion shillings. I mean, there's that court injunction, but you should also just explain to the citizens of Nairobi, you know, what is happening. It's good for everyone. Yeah, we need to know what is happening.
I would like to ask the MCAs, did they not see this happening? They're waiting until the election period
that is what
to
we
come and
actually
start
asked.
talking.
So
where were they?
It's a happy
Where
coincidence. In political circles, it's a very happy coincidence because it's come at the right time.
I think it's the wrong time.
It could actually just be a political ploy for them to elevate their visibility in the run-up to the elections. You know, once the election fever really takes off, then the most dominant personality in Nairobi County will be Evans Kidero, and then versus whoever Jubilee finally settles on. So at that point, the MCAs will not be able to be visible in the media. They will not be able to raise issues. Yeah, you know, I mean, it's a ploy.
I think it's political intent, but it's good for Kidero, for his own, you know, political goodwill and from the electorate to just come out and say, you know, we've not even seen him come out and talk about this issue. You know, the manner in which the MCAs, you know, dealt with this whole issue, the decorum.
All right, Faith, I'm going to have to cut you short. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
But earlier we asked you, should the Kenyan government arrest the warlords waging war from Kenya? And a whopping 94% of you say yes, and only 6% say no. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, Betty. Thank you, Faith, for coming. Thanks for watching News Sources. Join us again next week on Wednesday. My name is Julie Masiga.